I just heard word that David Brainerd's mother is watching this, so we'll have to be on our best behavior.
My mom was watching, and I wasn't on good behavior. I have such a great mom, she actually tunes in just to listen to the webcast. The score is 2-0, should be 3-0. Tommy Little called a long serve against Dave Chapman.
And that's the shot right there you're talking about, Dave.
Yeah, and this is something I was going to tell you. When Dave Chapman and Emmett Pichotte, if they make the finals, I cannot see how this court is going to contain those players deep. We're going to see shots like that where the players are going to be into the crowd. Now, our camera doesn't pick it up here, but Brainerd came back and hit that ball and fell into the first row, and I believe there's going to be a problem with the deep players like Dave Chapman and Emmett and Dane Zakowski that play deep.
You know, I think they'll make the adjustment, take that ball on the way up, or just stand in the crowd.
Wow, that ball is...
This is the type of match that will get us back on schedule pretty quickly.
Dave Chapman is certainly focused on this event. $4,000 for first place. He is the number 2 seed. Lost to Emmett Pichotte at the Nationals in a close tiebreaker.
That was 11-9.
You read about it in the paper. After your loss, you got in the car and drove home, which is a tradition of yours.
Not as much as you'd think. Lost in every tournament I've played in the last year and a half, and I've seen the finals of every event except for one. So I'd
Thank you, webcasting.
Like you to retract that.
It's been retracted, I'm sorry.
Have taken a number of flights with my handball gloves on, though, I'll admit that. Just incredible control.
Dave catches that on the way up, sends it all the way back here, and David swings and misses on the exact same shot. Unbelievable. Score is 5-0, first game, round of 16, Dave Chapman versus David Brainerd.
You know, Dave, it's just hard for me to believe, and this is completely off topic here while we watch the beginning of this match, that Paul Brady isn't a great 3-wall player. Paul Brady actually lived in the United States in Chicago for a summer, played 3-wall, never really dominated or even came close to being one of the top 3-wall players. I would think with his power, with both hands and his serve, he'd be nearly impossible to beat out here, but just wasn't that way. And he's played a lot of different codes of handball with the big court, and for whatever reason never was able to make that transition to the top level of 3-wall handball. Not sure why I'm saying that, just throwing it out there, just sort of a...
No, I agree with you, but as you're finding out, you've played 3-wall a lot in your life, just not every summer like these guys have, and Paul Brady certainly just has to make all these amazing adjustments in one summer to be great, and it's not easy to do. Tommy called that as a redo. David wanted that.
You'll see Dave just serve a steady dive of that serve right there. Look at that control. You see how Dave, just like what we talked about before, Dave Vincent, now that there's 4 Daves in play right now, 2 on the court and 2 in the webcast booth, just hits sort of that floating shot. Wow, we didn't expect that when the shirt came off. But there's some ink involved. We have ink.
That was the first mistake that Dave Chapman made, and Dave Brainerd took care of it. Dave wearing those hiking shorts, looks like he's going to go on a safari.
Nice day for a hike.
Chapman a little upset with himself there. Let's listen for the score here from Tommy Little. 7-0.
Look at that shot.
That's absolutely out of here. Unbelievable shot. The score is now 8-0. You're watching the Wph Ektelon 3-wall Fireball Handball Classic.
Dave telling me that with these types of ceilings, with the screen ceiling, that you really need to just graze that ceiling shut.
You just can't jam it up there.
He wants to hit that ceiling shot really close to that front wall. And Dave Chapman will go for the shutout. Don't think he won't.
Dave going to towel this floor down. Actually, they're calling timeout. You're watching the Wph Ektelon 3-wall Fireball Handball Classic, KCAC. David Brainerd versus David Chapman. Chapman, the number 2 seed. Tommy Little is the referee because he lost his last match versus Bill Mihelis. So Bill is now going to play the winner of this one.
Was there any controversy as far as the number 1 and 2 seed in this event, Dave? I know you had something to do with that. Dave Chapman is currently ranked number 1 in the WPH. He's also ranked number 1 in the combined rankings. Emmett won the 3-wall nationals, but is not the defending champion at this tournament.
If the seeding committee consists of 5 people, they all have the same 1, 2, and 3 seeds.
Okay.
Where the controversy was with Alan Garner's seed. I believe that Alan should have been at 7, and the seating committee put him at 4. I was overruled. I never really got an explanation for that, but
well, apparently it was. You were told that he played a good practice game against his brother in San Antonio 2 or 3 years ago that someone heard about.
Well, apparently he's played in this tournament before, and he ran through the field. So
he actually played in the doubles event here, the Paul Quirk World Doubles, which he won with the baby, Chip Morales.
Alan Garner defeated by Andy Nett earlier today. Fink defeated Omar Lemus. Excuse me, Marco Lemus was defeated by Dave Fink. Omar is on the camera. His older brother.
Omar and I are teammates today, working together on the crew. Marco and I were adversaries on the court. Opponents.
And Emmett Peixote defeated Will Limp earlier.
Will Limp, Dave, will be attending the Dave Chapman Junior Handball Camp next week in Orange County, so certainly that'll be something for young Will to look forward to.
Dave Chapman took a total of 2 steps in that. Serve, shot, return, shot. And Dave Brainerd now knows what he's up against here. The score is 12-0. First game.
I was just about to say how Dave is going to hit that same serve all match, and he went to that short one there.
And that's the 3rd ball that Dave Brainerd has hit out of the complex now. Dave Chapman just scoring points as easy as he possibly can here. 13-0, men's round of 16. Dave Chapman scanning the crowd here, trying to find a face he recognizes.
This is a webcasting first, both announcers and both players with the same name. I'd like to hear the odds on something like that happening. Not sure we will. Certainly you get much better odds on the roulette wheel on the 40.
Well, it would only be the best thing that could possibly happen is to have the referee also be a David. But we missed out with Tommy and the cameraman, who's Omar. So
our next referee will be David, though.
So that's a good point. We're that far away from having it happen. Believe it or not, there's more people watching this match than, this is coming right back at us, than any other match so far today, and it's also going to result in probably the quickest one. And that's no offense to David Brainerd. I know his mom is watching back home.
Would you be saying it was no offense if his mom wasn't watching?
Probably not.
Okay. Thanks for being honest.
I cannot tell a lie.
Huh. You just did, though. Dave just looks like he's just getting himself comfortable.
This is where injuries happen, though.
I don't think so.
That bar down there, you remember that? Yeah.
Big miss it there from Dave.
Brainerd has a chance of scoring a point here. 0-15.
Dave Brainerd in the round of 16 by virtue of his win against St. Louis's Jim London in the first round. Put a 0 on Jim London. Looks like he may get the favor returned here. You know, a lot of people don't know this, and they'll tell you that Vince Munoz was the greatest three-wall player of all time, and maybe he was. He's got the most titles, but I watched Dave Chapman dismantle Vince Munoz at Venice Beach in the Venice Beach Pro three-wall event in July of 1995. Dave beating Vince 21-1, 21-2 in the final there. That was for $5,000.
Amazing.
Dave beat Toddy earlier in that day in a close match.
Tommy Little called that last one deep, Dave. Did you see it?
It looked like it was out to me. Dave gave him the glare.
Smart play right there. Dave just loafs in and gets it. Nice shot.
It's a good idea there from Dave Brainerd. Not a good shot.
That's a nice shot right there.
Yes.
Watch out. Heads up. You're watching the Ektelon Wph Fireball Handball 3-Wall Classic outside at the KCAC alongside Dave Fink. My name is Dave Vincent, watching Dave Brainerd and Dave Chapman and all the other Daves in the stands watching this men's round of 16 match, first round match for Dave Chapman, the number 2 seed. Score 17-0. Start off this first game, everyone packed in to watch Dave Chapman play. He's a master at 3-wall. He's only won a couple titles, though.
Surprisingly,
in singles.
Dave stopped playing in Toledo when he was about 23 years old. Took about the last 6 years of his first stint as a pro player off in Toledo. This now, I guess, what we'd call his second stint or his comeback. I guess so. His second career, whatever you want to call it. Dave did take 3.5 years off from handball entirely. Made his comeback at the 2008 back at the DAC exhibition match in Detroit. Really decided to come back full time at the 2008 Simple Green U.S. Open. Dave committed himself to full-time handball at that event,
where he took 5th place, I believe.
Actually 6th. Lost that match to Noddy Jr.
19 serves 0 here, first game.
We do have a trivia question here, Dave. Can you name the only 2 players Dave Chapman has not beat in his comeback that he's played?
Noddy Alvarado Jr., that's one.
That is true. Now he's had to have played them too. This doesn't count. You can't tell me someone's name that he hasn't yet played.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And Paul Brady.
That's correct. Congratulations.
Thank you.
1-0.
One serves 19.
See tomorrow, bud.
David Brainerd's dad is sitting right in front of our booth here, watching his son play.
It's incredible how many times David Brainerd has hit that steel beam.
You're right, that's tough to do. Here it is, game point serves 1, first game against Dave Brainerd. And that's a good serve, but deep.
Well, so that means it's not a good serve.
That's a good point. It's like hitting a home run that goes foul. There it is, 21-1. Dave Chapman closes out the first game. We're going to take a quick timeout here in Kansas City, where the weather is pretty and everything is getting really good here. People are packed into this facility, Dave. For Omar and Mr. Fink, my name is Dave Vincent. We'll be back in just a few seconds for game number 2. Stick with us. And we are back live from the Kansas City Athletic Club for game number 2. David Brainerd serving to David Chapman. Score of the first game, 21-1 in favor of Dave Chapman. And there's another real quick point here for David Brainerd. And I say another because he scored his first point really late in that first game, Dave. So David Brainerd can say to his kids, I was beating Dave Chapman in a pro stop 1-0. He doesn't even have to say that. He said, I was beating Dave Chapman in a pro stop. You, Dave Fink, actually defeated Dave Chapman at a pro stop in New York, 4-wall tournament.
That's true.
Also went through Sean Linning, and that was a nice win for you. And while we watch this rally, what does it do for a player who can not just score points, but also defeat a Dave Chapman? Obviously, there's not too many that can defeat him, but you see how some of these players that score a couple points, they feel like they've just done something absolutely amazing. What does it go through for somebody like yourself who actually did get a win? What did it do for you?
Well, it gave me a lot of confidence. Unfortunately, all that confidence didn't translate into more wins.
But at the time that you defeated him in New York, it was either last year, early last year.
It was in April of 2009.
At the time that happened, was that one of the greatest wins you've ever had?
It was the best I've ever had. So that was a great accomplishment for me.
I spoke to Dave after that, and I said, what happened? And he just literally came out and said, Dave Fink beat me fair and square. He was absolutely amazing. And I thought the quote was a really good one from him, who normally the Dave Chapman that would play it off as if, there was some other reason for the loss. But he gave you all the credit in the world for defeating him. He said, Dave Fink beat me.
That's nice to hear. I was just really playing well there. I had my game firing on all cylinders.
Oh, and he hits a crack, Dave Brainerd does. Mom back home watching this live webcast. Dad sitting about 18 inches away from our booth here.
There's a setup for Dave Brainerd. Puts it away. Dave has that look like he's mentally and physically preparing himself for the 4 rounds, the 3 rounds after today that he'll have in front of him. The winner of this match, Dave, will play Bill Mihilos at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, Central Standard Time.
Second serve here. Wow, that almost hit 3 walls from way back there. Dave, so smart, decides not to kill himself. He just stayed back. I think if that ball would have hit that 3rd wall, Dave would have come in. I don't know how Dave Brainerd's able to hit that solid steel beam that goes across the front, but we've seen it 5 times now in this match.
You'd think with that kind of precision, he could just hit that front wall about 2 or 3 inches high every time.
That's an amazing shot from Dave Chapman. For those that don't play 3-wall, that is precision.
A lot of people, Dave, don't play 3-wall just because they don't have the courts in their town. I know in Pittsburgh we don't have a 3-wall court. And it's very difficult for a lot of people to understand just how challenging this game is. The different strategy, the different shots, the different swings, different movements.
3 serves 4. Seems like Dave is just dominating, and he's only got 3 points. That's pretty impressive.
3-wall backhanded shot.
That was pretty impressive, Dave.
Takes a lot of strength.
You finally got your match when it comes to the person with the best body out here.
Do I?
I think you do.
That's out. It's one of the few errors we've seen from Dave from the backcourt.
Listen for the score here. Second serve. Wow, that's a double fault. Listen for the score.
Really, it's hard to believe, Dave, that Dave Chapman has that amazing control with those overhand shots, because he didn't play 3-wall for about 10 or 12 years.
Right.
Came out in Toledo last year with no preparation whatsoever, and just looked like he'd been playing every day during that time period, when in fact he hadn't played once.
There it is. It's going to make the front. No. Six to 4. Is that the score?
I think it's 6-1 now, 7-1. I think we both misheard the score. Not sure if that's a word, but
I guess I'm just off of my score. It's very hard to hear the referee. We don't have it mic'd up.
I don't think David Brainerd has 4, but we can see here.
That is now the...
Surprised we don't have someone going to the street. Those are brand new balls.
That's another ball out in the street.
Actually, our cameraman is headed out to the street right now.
Yeah, he knows that if he brings that ball back, they'll give him a pack of bubble gum in the concession stand. I thought that was funny.
Not so much.
Really don't know. I know Dave Chapman has 8 points, and that's a deep serve. Tommy Little is just calling the score to Dave Chapman. No one else can hear it. But Dave certainly has 8. It might be 8-1 or 8-4. It's one of the two. Make that
when
9.
you hit a shot like that, Dave, you're basically just telling your opponent one thing. Go ahead and put that in your pocket and chew on it.
That's a good point.
Still some more chewing going on there.
That ball went underneath the deck, and now we're going to have to get another new handball.
Actually, it rolled up into the rocks.
Dave Chapman serving to David Brainerd. 10-5, I think I'm hearing the score here. Score is 10-5. Make that 11-5.
David Brainerd going to that backhanded return.
Oh, that's
There's
a miss
hit. That's a nice shot there from Mr. Brainerd. Well-controlled fist there.
It'll be a second serve here. Kansas City Athletic Club for this live webcast. And we do apologize about the score on this one. We've been trying to give you the scores on the other matches. I believe Dave Brainerd has 6 points here, but we can't really hear the score from the ref. We don't have a microphone on the referee because the shipping company did not send us all of our equipment, so we're having to kind of piece things together here. So I believe the score is 6-11.
We're seeing Dave just work that ceiling, got a fly kill opportunity, and paddle killed it into the right.
With the score there, 6-11, that's a deep serve. Dave Brainerd making this a respectable match here. He lost the first one 21-1, but here though, he's serving and has 6 versus Dave Chapman.
There's a good shot. You see how he uses that side wall, eliminates any opportunity Dave Brainerd has of taking that ball out of the air.
Wow. Dave Chapman almost found Mr. Brainerd sleeping back there behind that long line.
This is just basically a sparring session for Dave Chapman. Figuring out the bounces on the court.
12 serve 6. I'm sure this has been probably the first time he's been here in a while, no? I mean, you'd have to say it has 10 years?
I don't know how long these courts have been here.
That's a good point, too.
I feel like these courts were just built in the last...
Like 03, 04, something like that?
I was going to say 6 to 8 years. I don't know if Dave's ever played on these courts before.
13 serve 6.
What do you need, Jim?
It's going to be a second serve long. You heard the call from Tommy Little when he said deep. Now Dave almost stepped in front of Mr. Brainerd.
Dave seems like he does little more than just put that ball in play on the serve. It's that next shot that he really puts you on the defensive with, because it's that next ball, Dave, that Dave drives high, either high straight down the walls or up to that ceiling, and just has you all out of sorts and off balance.
And a glove change right here with Dave Chapman with a comfortable lead here in game number 2 after winning the first one 21-1. You're watching the Wph Ektelon Wph 3-wall fireball classic. Pro Stop Outdoors, $4,000 for first place, over $15,000 in cash to the men's pro bracket. We saw earlier today a big upset when Andy Nett defeated Alan Garner, and then Bill Michelis got past Tommy Little. It was Emmett Peixoto over Will Limp in 2. Luis Moreno defeated...
Luis Moreno actually defeating Kevin Pettis.
Kevin Pettis in 2. Thank you for bailing me out on that.
I was nearly bailed myself.
And then you defeated Marco Lemus in 2. Now we're watching Dave Chapman here against Dave Brainerd. There was one tiebreaker here today, and that was the match that we saw prior to this one, Bill Mihalis and Tommy Little, with Bill winning that one in a breaker. Score here is 13-6. Second serve, Dave Chapman to David Brainerd.
You see Dave taking it pretty easy, Dave Chapman. That's a ball I think he could have picked up.
6 serves, 13. You seem to think that Brainerd would like to get into double digits here.
I don't think he will, and I've got some sand that says he won't.
Now he's only 3 points away. How much sand do you have on it?
I don't have any sand, but I'm willing to put some sand on that.
7-13.
Yeah, I remember my dad.
That will be amazing if he gets it back, and he doesn't. He almost did it, though.
Dave Brainerd from Kansas City.
I like how you put that in the form of a question.
Thought you might know. Dave Brainerd from here and there.
Oh, he's from San Diego? Originally?
Now,
Mo State. Went to college here, but originally from San Diego. Played with Miles Payne back there.
did he, or are you just saying that?
Just making it up.
Miles Payne actually went to UC Santa Barbara.
I'm not saying he went to college with Miles Payne, just played with him when he was in San Diego. Here, though, he was
Miles
on
Payne doesn't live in San Diego. Just reporting.
I said he played with him. I didn't say he lived in the same spot.
But that's just a guess.
Might be an accurate one. We're going to find out eventually. Waiting for the text message from his mom. Look how good Dave is on those short hops.
That's a nice shot there from Mr. Brainerd.
I don't even think he's got a.
What else can you do there? You have to guess, right?
Just a well-placed ceiling shot there from the Missouri State alum.
Score is 7-16. Dave was asking for 3 screens there. Finally got it from Tommy.
I'm not sure that was a screen. That ball just sort of popped right into him.
7-15 is the score.
You can really feel the energy from the crowd here, Dave.
Oh, Jimmy!
There's some of that Dave Chapman power.
I believe we have a timeout here from David Brainerd. No?
Looked like a
Contact issue or 17-7.
I think it's 16-7. That's the right idea there from Mr. Brainerd. There's another ball in the street. Wait.
The ball that Dave Chapman has now is the one that was hit in the street prior. I've got backups. This is game number 2. Dave Brainerd lost the first one. 21-1.
Actually, Dave, you'll find these balls bounce on the cement just as well after playing with them 5 or 6 times as they do right out of the can.
Well, that was kind of a strange call. It was a no call from Tommy Little, and Dave came in to... Dave actually came over to Tommy and asked what the screaming was from. Probably is echoing pretty loud over there in that court.
A lot of people think Dave is so single-minded, focused in there that he doesn't know anything that's going on outside the court. He actually knows everything that's going on. He could tell you everyone that's in the crowd, every noise that's being made.
This is game and match, serve 7.
Looks like I might take some sand with me back to Pittsburgh.
You didn't make that bet.
Well, I learned from you that imaginary sand also
equals sand. There it is, 21-7. After winning the first one 21-1, Dave Chapman closes out David Brainerd 21-7. David Brainerd had a nice showing there in the second game. Was actually up at one point, but then lost the lead, and Dave Chapman goes on to advance to play Bill Mihalis tomorrow. We have Mr. Willis up against Emmett Pashot in the next round. We're going to take a quick break here.
Actually, Mr. Willis will be taking on Dane Statkowski.
I'm sorry, Dane Zat. Got the wrong stat. So we have Dane Zatkowski coming up next. We're going to take a quick timeout here from Kansas City. For Omar Lemus and David Fink, my name is Dave Vincent. We'll be back in just a few. Thanks for tuning in to WePlayHandball.com.